Welcome to this Connect M3 Fortnite podcast, recorded on 4th of July 2025. I'm Helen King, and my Fortnite today is titled, Do We Know What Food Is? The current Health Secretary, Wes Streeting, has just announced that injections for weight loss will now be widely available free on the NHS. He says half his parliamentary colleagues are on these drugs. Whether or not 50% of Labour MPs are on drugs, 1.5 million people in the UK are said to be having weight loss injections. But why is this? Why are so many people overweight? And why are they unable, it appears, to lose weight without medication? Can't they change their diets? It's not that simple, clearly. A horrific rat study gives us some clues as to a reason. Real food is expensive. There's an answer to this objection to buying organic food from farm shops and local producers. The answer is not eating real food is even more costly. An experiment carried out in the year 2000 reveals the horrific effects of eating food made in a modern, industrial way. I say food, but it's not really food. That's the problem. A scientist, Paul Kenny, on moving to the United States, observed how differently people there ate compared to in his native Ireland. Americans ate more sugar and fat in particular. Paul wondered whether this diet affected people's brains and if something about sugar and fat made it harder to cut down or stop eating them. He experimented on rats which, sadly for them perhaps, are genetically similar to humans and, among other similarities, convert food to energy in a similar way. Paul fed a group of lab rats on rat chow, a food that's healthy and balanced. The rats ate chow until they felt full, and then their natural instincts kicked in. They stopped eating. They never became obese. He then introduced a hyper-American diet. The rats were in two groups. One group could eat cheesecake, Snickers bars, and fried bacon for an hour a day. The other group could eat it all the time. The healthy chow was still there for them all if they wanted to eat it, but they didn't want to eat it, as it turned out. The rats just loved the new food. The rats, which only had for an hour, made the most of that time, diving into the cheesecake as soon as it arrived. Literally, they emerged covered in cheesecake after gorging themselves. The rats which could eat cheesecake and the other junk foods all the time behaved differently. They ate, took a break, returned to eat some more, and ate even more than the first group did. The rats liked all the American food, but the cheesecake was their favourite. Paul described it as energy-dense food, basically emulsified oil held together with sugar. It's enough to put you off cheesecake, almost. All the rats ignored the chow. In a short time they lost interest in the food that had been their diet. The American food was now almost all they ate. Also, the rats' instincts, that had told them when to stop eating, stopped working. The rats gorged themselves and quickly, in 6 weeks, became obese, with a range of obesity-caused health problems. Paul then took the junk food away, giving the rats a choice, eat chow or nothing. To his shock, they ate almost nothing. It was only when they were close to starving that they ate the chow, a little, and reluctantly at that. The study then took an even more gruesome turn. Paul set up 2 cages. In one, the rats had chow, and in the other, cheesecake. The rats in both cages were occasionally given, while they were eating, a nasty electric shock through the cage floor. At the same time, they were shown a yellow light. They quickly came to fear the yellow light. Paul then showed the rats, when their food arrived, the yellow light, but didn't give them an electric shock. Being conditioned to be afraid of a light, associated as it was with an electric shock, the rats eating chow stopped eating and ran away to avoid a shock. The rats eating cheesecake, however, carried on eating, ignoring the warning of an electric shock. It appeared the desire for the food was so great, the rats ignored the warning of danger. This study is described in a book called Magic Pill by Johann Hari. Johann says about the rats, once the American food arrived, it was like they had forgotten what real food was and no longer recognised it as food at all. Johann knows about this forgetting and this failure of recognition from his own childhood. His mother introduced him at an early age to foods that he later realised are not really food. His father, on the other hand, prepared healthy, nutritious food which Johann refused to eat. The book's title refers to a weight loss injection, Ozempic. The book is about Johann's decision to take the drug and his quest to find out why people become overweight. Johann describes research by the journalist Joanna Blythman, who investigated food factories. Joanna's book, Swallow This, explains that, rather than making food, these places make what are better described as chemical cocktails. The ingredients used in products are chemicals in vast numbers. For example, a strawberry milkshake is flavoured with 50 chemicals to make it resemble strawberries. Then there's sugar, salt and fat added to make products last a long time. Sugar and fat reduce bacterial growth, and given that our health depends upon living bacteria in our gut microbiomes, that's a sobering thought. Industrial food manufacture also massively harms natural ingredients. Flavours, aromas and textures become altered. The products emerge dull and inedible. Colourings are added, along with additives to mask the metallic or bitter taste the process has caused. It was at this point that I made a connection. For a long time I've wondered about the queues at fast food outlets. Could there be a more complex reason than people enjoy what they eat there so much they keep going back? So, when I read in Johann's book the additives that are pumped into these products create a new kind of deliciousness, and one his own palate was trained to crave, it was a boom moment. The unnatural chemical stew he describes has been honed, refined in every sense, over a long time to produce the optimum sugar kick or mouth bliss or exciting aftertaste. All the result of chemicals. Could this be why fast food outlets are always busy? The stuff they sell is addictive. It's not easy to change how we live, or what we eat. Perhaps, however, the first step to making healthier choices is to understand what it is we're eating. As the solution to being overweight becomes increasingly presented as a chemical solution, who's for beginning the journey of rediscovering, or for some, discovering, what real food is? After all, we're not lab rats. So, that's my current thinking on this important subject. Thank you for listening to this Byte today. For further information on this and related subjects, do check out the PDF version of this article. It contains a number of links to supporting articles, plus links to many other enlightening and fascinating articles on a variety of topics. Meanwhile, I look forward to sharing my next Byte with you very soon. Goodbye.